Well, fellas, Week 14 was absolutely bizarre. Lots to jump into, so I'm not going to waste any time. Started off with a Thursday night make or break game, they say, for the Dallas Cowboys visiting the Detroit Lions. Guys, we all picked Dallas. We all picked Dallas to win. Thought they would, but they allowed 44 points and lose, scoring 30 points. Caleb, I'm going to be the one of the few times you'll probably ever hear me do this, but didn't love the call. We were talking about it a little bit offline here. An offensive pass interference within the 5 yards of the line, where it didn't even look like the tight end made contact, Tim, and yet somehow OPI, which would have put us, I think, within 3 with about 6 minutes left, changed the entire tide of the game.
Yeah, you can't just look at the final score. Sometimes you look at the final score and you say, "Oh, Detroit won by 2 touchdowns. All right, they must have dominated." No, Dallas was in this game. You guys, the Dallas Cowboys were right there the whole time. I hated that call too. You can't make that call at this point in the game. At that point in the game, I don't think. Again, Dallas. You can't give up 4 rushing touchdowns either. There's that too. But I mean, just I hate that. I hate that happened, because I think Dallas actually, that call had not been called. I think you guys were right. I think the Dallas Cowboys were right in that game, and I think they had a chance to walk away with a victory there.
Yeah, and I just don't like being the guy that has to blame it on the officials. I don't ever think that we should have to do that. But at the end of the day, it's a really, really, really tough one to stomach. Caleb, you had a point.
Yeah, I think there's a few reasons why Dallas struggled in this game. The first one being we couldn't really get the ball going on the ground. Javonte Williams, 17 carries, 67 yards, which is okay, but it's not great. Not what he's been doing. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown was up in the air to play. He has a low ankle sprain. Looked like on Thanksgiving that he would miss a few weeks. Surprise, he's playing the following week, and I don't think that they're really prepared for that. He had 9 targets, 92 yards. Jameson Williams also had 90 yards. Jahmyr Gibbs, we held him on the ground. We held him on the ground, 40 rushing yards, but he also had 77 receiving yards. And then obviously the 3 touchdowns killed Dallas. And then Jack Campbell was, for kudos to him on the Lions, having a great game stopping the run. So the Lions as a whole just played better. They all performed better. And then also that Amon-Ra thing, not being prepared for him, I think, was one of the biggest things, because he was kind of questionable to play right as warm-ups for the games were happening. So weird situation, but it was a close game until the very end.
Yeah. Josh, your 2 cents?
Yeah, I think looking at what the defense did, Caleb brought up Jack Campbell, but they also had 5 sacks defensively. I think one of the guys had 3 sacks in this one, just one of the defensive linemen. But yeah.
It was Al-Quadin Muhammad.
Yeah, I knew it was somebody that wasn't, their typical big-named guy. But Dallas, only 1 sack in this game. We know that they have a backup offensive lineman playing right now for Guyton, just the last few stretches of games. And that was apparent in this game, the pressure getting right over to Dak Prescott during this game. But also, the Detroit Lions are slowly diminishing defensively in their secondary, especially. You look at Terrion Arnold, the first-round corner. He's out for likely the rest of the regular season. Kirby Joseph has been out. Brian Branch on that play that you were talking about. Yes, that play, was a part of handing the loss to the Dallas Cowboys, but of course they got handed a long-term loss to Brian Branch, their best player in the secondary. He's out with a torn Achilles for, of course, the rest of the year, and likely a good portion of next year, just because of where it's at the end of the season here. So a huge loss for them, and we'll see how they fare out through the next stretch of games against other top offenses, that is the Detroit Lions defense, because they have a ton of guys out. So they're fortunate for their season to come out of this one with a win. Obviously, as Tim said, the allure and the illusion of 44 points. This was a much closer game than it appears, and the Detroit Lions desperately needed it for their season to be sustained, because they're sitting at 8-5. We know the success of the Bears and the Packers right now, and they've got a long stretch to go to finish out this one.
Yeah, it would have put Dallas at 7-5, which essentially they would have the same amount of losses as the Eagles do now. We'll talk about them at the end. Okay, let's keep moving. Seattle, of course, went to Atlanta. No surprise, 37. Well, surprise for some of us, but 37-9. Seattle gets the win. Tennessee, Cleveland. Guys, this is not as exciting as the score was. The score was 31-29. Cleveland effectively eliminated by losing to Tennessee. Josh, Caleb, y'all picked Tennessee. What do you like about this game?
Caleb, go ahead.
Yeah, Tennessee, they're a team obviously they're not good. They're the worst team in football statistically. They're on they have seventh round picks and undrafted free agents playing their DBs and most of their defense right now outside of a few starters. They're still trying to figure it out. They have interim head coach still, Cam Ward, one of the worst O-lines in the league, which is surprising. Me and Josh picked them more because of the quarterback duo that was happening, Shador versus Cam Ward. They have some bad blood. So that's fun to see. But I was really surprised that Tennessee I know Myles Garrett got a sack, but they held that defense away from Cam Ward enough to get them to win the game, which is very surprising. The Browns being one of the best defenses in the league. But Tony Pollard's really the reason they won. He ripped off 2 or 3 runs that were field breakers. He scored twice on those, 30 points for fantasy. So if you had him in fantasy, congrats to you. But yeah, very surprising. And then one more point, and I'll stop talking about the game prior. Seahawks and Falcons. I think me and Josh picked the Falcons. For the first half, it was 6-6. It was very close. It was a low-scoring game, and then the second half, halftime adjustment, Seahawks kind of just blew the top off, and then they dropped all their points, 31 points in the second half. So not what we thought picking them. So you guys go ahead.
Yeah, I think the Tennessee Titans, at least, obviously coming away with a win in this one, 31-29, as you said. The excitement there for them, as you mentioned, the Browns being out of playoff contention at 3-10. Well, the Tennessee Titans, after winning this one, only have 2 wins. But it's exciting for them to see that they have future franchise players. They have Cam Ward, of course, first overall pick. He hasn't been great, but obviously, as Caleb mentioned, the surrounding pieces, the offensive line, all those things are not doing well for them. Their young rookies are, Chamir DK and Eli Manor, Gunnar Helm. Those guys are doing relatively well, considering that they're rookies. But everything else around them has just not been performing well. And so it's good to see players like Kevin Winston in the secondary, their early round safety, Cedric Gray, who they got last year. He's among the league leader in tackles. Jeffrey Simmons, we know he's been there for several years now. He's going to stay there as well. But you see these names that are playing at a high level. It's just you'd like to see the full team, of course, play at a more balanced level. So the Titans have a bright future. They have a bright couple of names. It's just unfortunate for them to invest so much in the offensive line position the last several years with 2 first-round picks, and for those guys to not live up to that expectation. So they're going to have to rediscover, go out and draft and get some guys there to fill in there to support Cam Ward. But it's exciting to see their success, at least flourish at times. But, of course, they're out for the season, not in contention.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, that moves the Titans, worst team in football. Well, so are the Raiders, 2-11, Browns to 3-10, and as we mentioned, talking about Seattle, we'll talk about that division when we get down the list just a little bit with their wins and losses. Okay, a game that, guys, we were not split on, surprisingly. This is one we all picked, but Chicago goes to Green Bay. Used to be Aaron Rodgers was Chicago's daddy. I guess Love is now Tim, their daddy. 28-21. There's something going on with these two coaches. I don't really understand why, considering Ben doesn't really know, your coach, Tim. But anyway, all that to say, Green Bay, yay, they get the win. We picked it, and there they are, 28-21. It was a good win, Tim. You guys needed it to stay atop your division, 9-3-1 now versus their 9-4. So,
yeah. Ben Johnson, during his introductory press conference, said, I have 2 really great coaches I'm going up against and he mentioned Minnesota's head coach and Detroit's head coach. And then he said, and I just love beating Matt LaFleur twice a year. So there was that little jab, good move as Bears incoming coach to jab at the Packers. So I think that kind of started a little something there. But Packers, if you're a Packers fan, you're happy because, Jordan Love's looking phenomenal again in December. He always looks good. The running joke is they call him Toyota-thon Love. Whenever Toyota-thon's going on, his stats are through the roof. Right. But Christian Watson looking like a number 1 receiver. And the scary part is even without Tucker Kraft, Romeo Doubs did nothing this past week. Dontavian Wicks did nothing this past week, and they still were able to pull it off. And so they've got some weapons. Jaden Reed came back, and even Micah Parsons on defense didn't have a huge game, and they're still able to pull it off. But I will say, just to be fair, Chicago is a much better team than I thought they were. They hadn't played anybody as of 10 days ago, and then they beat the Eagles in Philly, and they hung with the Packers in Green Bay. So I'm impressed by Chicago, and I don't think they're going away.
Anybody else want to chime in?
Sure. Just as we mentioned, this has nothing to do with the importance or anything to do with this game. But we talk about the eerie stat lines with the Green Bay Packers this year, and of course the suspicion there with their Super Bowl run and the age of 27. The last 2 games, Jordan Love has thrown for exactly 234 yards. And as Tim mentioned, he's picked it up. He's had 4 touchdowns in his previous game, 3 touchdowns in this game, only 1 interception between those 2 games, and they're both within the division. So they settle highly among their division. Of course, they were ranked below the Bears going into this game, but because they get the division win, they have that tie. They're firmly above the Bears right now, even if the Bears happen to win and the Packers lose the next game. So they're sitting a little prettier than the previous week.
Yeah, let me add to that with the win currently. Here's how we're looking: 9-3-1 Packers, 9-4-0 Bears, 8-5 Chicago, and of course Vikings at 5-8. Which segues to our next game nicely. Caleb, if you had nothing to add to this one, we can move on to your favorite quarterback in Minnesota, J.J. McCarthy, who rallies the win 31-0 against Jaden Daniels and that hobbled arm of his that seems to be re-injured. I hear.
Yep. Yeah, this is. I hate to say this. Very Washington. It feels very Washington to me. It's hard to not think of RG3 in that situation where they kind of rushed him back and he got re-hurt. This isn't a knee. This isn't as serious. It's just an elbow, which was non-throwing arm. Thank goodness for him. But he came in 9-20, 78 yards, no touchdowns, a pick, sacked once. Didn't look good. Terry McLaurin's playing. They just look stale. Like all of a sudden, they look better with Mariota the last few weeks. Mariota comes in. Doesn't do anything either. The Vikings defense just stifled them. It's just all around bad for Washington in this game. And we hope that Jaden Daniels can come back and not have either mental barriers to get through coming back from that injury, because it's a traumatic thing to see. And then just being bought in back for this team, because it's kind of disheartening. You're hurt how many times now in 2 years? Playing through injuries, hand injuries, knee injuries, now an elbow injury. I'm just a little concerned for him as a player. That's it. And I think Washington is terrible right now. We said it week 1. We say it almost every week. They were overrated last year. Their team's old. It's hobbled now, and now all their youth is injured, and they just don't look good at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, with the score being 31-0, you assume dominance from the offensive side of the ball from the Minnesota Vikings. 163 yards, 3 touchdowns for J.J. McCarthy. I think his most efficient game. He had 70% completion. The running game did pretty well. Jordan Mason 11-52, Aaron Jones 14 for 76. Averaging out for 4.8 between the 3 guys there. But their receiving line, it's cool that they win a game against the Washington Commanders, and the Commanders go down, as Caleb said. Jaden Daniels injured, a gruesome injury to Zach Ertz once again to his knee, a torn ACL, out for, of course, the rest of the year. Very emotional. Might have been his last play in the NFL, period. We don't know. But just looking at what the receiving line was for the Vikings, Jordan Addison had 62 yards. No one else on this team had over 30 yards. Justin Jefferson, 4 targets, 2 catches, 11 yards, 0 scores. It's cool. They got the win. But how soon is it before this turns into an A.J. Brown situation where everyone's telling them, you got to be a team player, we're winning the games. But Justin Jefferson's coming out 11 yards, no importance, no factor. It's of course problematic. We all know the discussion. We all know what people were saying about J.J. McCarthy the previous few weeks, kind of just trashing on him. I think that's definitely something they have to address, despite however many games they win going forward through the rest of the year.
Yeah. Tim?
I think if you're a Minnesota fan, this is the worst thing that could have happened. It hurts your draft position, and it gives a little bit of hope to the organization that J.J. McCarthy might be the answer. When most of the Minnesota fans know J.J. McCarthy is not the answer, it would almost be easier for him to be trashed the rest of the way out, and they go, look, we swung big and we missed, but now we can easily move on in the offseason. When you have something like this where, let's say these next few weeks he shows something, not greatness, but he shows something, then it's that extended, all right, well, let's try it again next year and let's run it back. And it's another wasted season for Minnesota. And again, they have a talented team. They just don't have a talented quarterback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
And
Go ahead. Last point.
Real quick, yeah, we saw this with the Jets and Zach Wilson. He got injured too. I think in his second year, missed time, came back, had a great game. I think he beat the Bills. Looked competitive in prime time at some point in those 2 years, and they just let him linger around. I think he was there. Was he there for 4 years?
Yeah,
he played his whole rookie deal before he got cut and went to the Dolphins.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's probably going to end up being like that, and that's just a waste of all these players, especially these receivers, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison. They're going to be the first to feel that. Obviously, Justin Jefferson in the last month is averaging 10 yards a game, so miserable. It's only a matter of time, like Josh said, until something starts happening, starts talking, the wheel gets squeaky. I mean, something's going to happen.
Yeah,
something's going to happen. All right, 2 games that changed nothing in the landscape of the NFL. First game, Miami Dolphins beat the Jets 34-10. We were split on that, guys. And another, it really doesn't matter. The bottom New Orleans Saints upset Tampa Bay at home, 24-20. Let's talk about 2 games back to back that really matter. We need to dive into these a little bit. Josh and I picked Indianapolis to win against Jacksonville, 19-36. Jacksonville gets the win. Bad news, maybe good news. I don't understand. But quarterback goes down. He had a broken or cracked fibula. Is that right?
Fibula.
I get it wrong every time. In the left leg. Now he tore his Achilles in the right leg. And in comes 44-year-old ex-Colts. Yeah. I don't know if this is good or bad. I don't even know what the dude's going to look like in a uniform. I feel like he's going to look like a dad at a Halloween party when he puts on the pads. But I love the dude. I did hear, Tim, that he knows the offense because he is good friends with Shane Steichen, and that Philip put this offense in the team he's coaching for, so he knows the verbiage and they talk every week. And I think that's interesting. Josh, go ahead.
Well, it's not just a coincidence that they're good friends. Shane Steichen, he happened to be the offensive quality control coach for the Chargers for a few years, and he became the quarterbacks coach from 2016 to 2019, became their interim offensive coordinator in that final season when they changed coaches, of course. And then he was there in 2020 as well. So he very much so knows Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers is a guy that is also associated with the Colts team. We know that he finished out his career there, so it makes sense. Other than the age, other than the huge question mark of knowing if he even know that he has any talent left, but we'll see. They're mostly doing this because there's also an injury to Riley Leonard, who finished out this game for them, their backup rookie that they had to start because Anthony Richardson has an orbital bone fracture that he's recovering from. He's out for a few more weeks, more than likely. So they're in quite the pickle there, missing their top 3 quarterbacks going into the year. They have no other options, and it's not saying that they're even going to start Phillip Rivers. It's just there's no one else that they could bring in to play at even a remotely decent level that already knows the offense. This just makes things a lot easier. He's already familiar and played with Michael Pittman and Jonathan Taylor and some of the offensive line. So it makes sense. It's just we've never really seen something like this happen before.
Yeah, Tim, what's your take on that?
I guess Brett Favre wasn't available, so go for Phillip Rivers.
Yeah.
Now, my take is this, it's a good little story. Phillip Rivers, everybody loves Phillip Rivers. However, I think unfortunately it's a little too late because the story to me is not the Indianapolis Colts. The story to me is the Jacksonville Jaguars, because I think they and the Houston Texans, we'll get to them in a little bit, but I think this division has crumbled for the Indianapolis Colts, and not because of this injury. I think it was happening. It started a few weeks ago, to be honest with you. And so the Jacksonville Jaguars, we talked earlier in the year about Brian Thomas Jr. So many drops. Remember, every time we brought up his name, it was the drops. Well, he seems to have gotten that under control. Their coach, Cohen's done a very good job. They seem to put together a really good game plan, and this was a very good win for Jacksonville. As devastating as a loss as this was for Indy, this is just as good of a win for Jacksonville. And they look like a team that, again, we've said this all year long, there doesn't seem to be a team in the AFC that's a perfect team. So why not Jacksonville, right?
Yeah, and as you mentioned, Jacksonville now 9-4, Texans and Colts at 8-5. That puts the Colts third. That Titans defense, Caleb, they've allowed by far the least amount of points in the AFC, and actually right now currently in the entire NFL with 208 total.
The Texans.
Yeah, so that defense is, Yeah, pretty stout. I mean, they've all done pretty well on defense. To be fair, that's 3 decent defenses. But yeah, what's your take on this?
I think Tim and I picked Jaguars. I've been a Jaguar fan, a closeted one. To be fair, I don't really like to say it. They're my AFC team.
Back when Bortles was ripping cigs.
Back in the Bortle days. But Trevor Lawrence looked fine. Didn't have any mistakes. The run game looked great. Travis Etienne killed the clock. 20 carries, 74 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jacoby Myers, since he's been there, has been their number 1 targeted receiver, and they've been winning games because of it. It's consistent. They're not forcing it to Brian Thomas. He's not dropping balls like Tim said. They just look like a better team, well-rounded team. The culture there is starting to grow a little bit, I think. They're starting to feel like a contender. You can see it happening the last few weeks, and I like what's happening down there. I think it's going to be good. And like Tim said, the Colts, a few weeks ago is when the wheels started coming off. I think they just look different. They don't look the same. Jonathan Taylor's not getting 150 rushing yards. Still getting 20 carries, but his production's halved. He's not scoring many touchdowns. And whoever comes in at quarterback, they just have to hand it to him. That's all they have to do, really. And I don't think it's going to help them. They'll probably end 500. Might be a wild card team, depending on how the rest of the league shakes out. But they're not scary anymore. They were cool for about 6 weeks, and then there they went. So it's unfortunate that Daniel Jones got injured. Hopefully he can recover. But they've invested too much in him, trading for Sauce Gardner, losing 2 firsts, and then having him as the starter, taking on that contract. So obviously they're going to have him at some point next year. Hopefully he's not out for a long period of time.
Josh,
if anything, speaking on his injury, we know he had an ACL tear just a few years ago with the Giants. He still has to recover from that fracture, and then he has the Achilles tear now, which will hold him out for a long time. At least, stop him from being as mobile as he was going into the year, even if he happens to start off the season, as the starter once again. It does make his contract a little bit lighter for them, I suppose. They're not going to have to promise him as much money because of, the uncertainty there. I'm sure that there's some sort of way they can work that out where they're not paying him quite as much, right? But as Caleb said, they've invested too much into this guy to then move on from him the very next season. So they're kind of stuck once again, just like the Giants were with Daniel Jones, where he played well. They made it to the playoffs. They were a considerably better team with him and Dable paired together, and everything looked great for them. And then it all just continued to crash down after he got that contract. So we'll see how it happens. This is a better roster than the Giants were at that time. But Daniel Jones, of course, we need him to come back and even be because if we're seeing the Daniel Jones that we saw the last couple of weeks with this fractured leg, that is not a guy worth investing in for their future. So, add an Achilles tear to that. We'll see what happens, of course. But I'm just hoping that it's not something that sets them back completely, because this is a franchise that's been set back time and time again at the quarterback position after Andrew Luck, even including Andrew Luck during his years because of the time that he missed with those injuries. So they've been yearning for a quarterback for 15, 20 years at this point.
All right, we can stop on any of these if you want, but we can keep moving along as well. Pittsburgh Steelers, Baltimore. Pittsburgh takes over the North once again with the win, 27-22 in Baltimore. We were split on our picks. Josh and I going with Pittsburgh, Tim and Caleb going with Baltimore. That means at 7-6, they are 1 game ahead of the Ravens. They look almost identical points for and against these guys.
Yep.
It's almost a carbon copy. And Joe Burrow, more mistake-ridden than usual. He definitely had his fair share of mistakes caused. And I'm talking about a different game now. I'm sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself. Lamar Jackson is looking like he is more mistake-heavy than he has been. Just certainly not the same running back or passer of the football that he has been in the past. Lamar Jackson, that is. So, yeah, and they end up, don't they walk off with a sack, the Steelers, with Lamar not looking Lamar-like?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll talk about Burrow in a second. He also had mistakes, but Lamar did not seem to be himself.
Yeah,
Aaron said he was going to have a good week of practice, and I shouldn't have made fun of him.
I was going to say that.
And the pleasantries that were exchanged in the press conferences afterwards, and the kiss that Tomlin blew to the fans. It's a lot of fun. I feel like Aaron likes to defend Tom. I think he has a lot of admiration for that guy. Mm-hmm. Josh, you want to add anything before we keep moving?
Yeah, I think I don't have the number right in front of me, but we mentioned it last week. The win rate that the Ravens have against the Steelers, They've only won 3 of their last 10 matchups, now 3 of their last 11. So Steelers have continued success against them, even with Lamar Jackson as their quarterback. And then we once again have another Steelers-Raven matchup to talk about later this season. So if they looked like this, which arguably was their best game of the last couple of games, 3 or 4 games for the Ravens, they still have another matchup with the Steelers, which they just seemingly cannot get by with Jackson and Harbaugh right now. So we'll see. We'll see, because this division was very much so the Ravens, then it was very much so the Steelers, and the Steelers lost it. Now it's, the Ravens, they're winning these games. They just have to beat the Steelers, and the Steelers beat them. So it's going to be a stretch, of course, with the Bengals and the Browns being out of it. But another matchup for the Ravens down the line, and the Steelers, sorry.
Yeah, no, agreed. All right, another matchup that I think we all chose, Denver over Las Vegas, no problem, 24-17. Denver keeps rolling. We should probably stop to mention this as well. The Broncos look like they are solely in charge at 11-2 of their division, the AFC West, with the Chargers at 9-4, Chiefs at 6-7, Raiders at 2-11. We'll talk more about that. I mentioned Joe Burrow prematurely. He looked a lot like Lamar Jackson in that he made some key mistakes that cost him the game. Buffalo comes back from behind most of the game, 39-34. We were split on that one as well. Actually, Caleb, you're the Cincinnati lone wolf there, and Burrow messed you up there, buddy.
It was completely lost because Joe Burrow. I mean, the first pick, for the pick 6 especially, was just lazy. Threw it straight to him. If he threw it 2 feet over him, it would have been probably a big play to Jamar Chase. But he had 4 touchdowns, 2 picks in the last quarter. Rough. And then T. Higgins left with a concussion. So at the last quarter, they just collapsed, which is just terrible to see, because it looked very good in the first 3 quarters, in my opinion. Their defense is playing up. They are statistically the worst defense in the league, allowing yards and I believe points as well. So they're playing up. I know Josh Allen had 3 touchdowns, but that's the best game the Bengals have played all year, and they still lost.
Tim, anything to add before we move on?
Yeah, the Bills just need to. James Cook needs to hold on to a ball. 2 fumbles again.
Yeah.
So that's another potential. He's probably their second best player on the team on offense, and if he's coughing the ball up, they've got no shot. The Bills, really, if that continues to happen. I love Josh Allen. Everybody loves Josh Allen, but he can only do so much.
I have one quick point, Josh, if I can. One thing to point out is we always talk about no receivers. Their top 3 receiving leaders in this game were not receivers. Dalton Kincaid, 93 yards. 41 yards. Dawson Knox, 93 yards. James Cook, 31. The best receiver was Gabe Davis, 21 yards. So they still don't have a receiver, even though they picked up Brandon Cooks and Gabe Davis back. So still a problem. You can't win a Super Bowl without a wide receiver. Maybe they could prove me wrong, but they're still a broken offense, in my opinion. And this game is, I think, for Bills fan, is an illusion. It makes them feel better than it did, because this game was given to them. They lost this game in the first 3 quarters, but that's why you play the game. But I wouldn't feel good if I was a Bills fan right now.
Josh, final point.
Yeah, and James Cook, to mention his fumbles the last couple of games, have been in the red zone. So he's overextending. He's trying to do too much with the football in his hands. These aren't desperate downs. This isn't 4th and goal. This isn't 3rd and short at the goal line. This isn't anything like that. It's he's overextending, and he's putting the ball out where he shouldn't. So that's definitely something they can clean up to remind him. But when you're relying so heavily on everyone that's not a wide receiver to go out there and beat a team like the Bengals, who could, as we saw, drop a 40-yard touchdown to T. Higgins, and it doesn't matter. You're going to cover him one-on-one, you're going to cover him with 2 guys, doesn't matter, he's going to score. They just can't match teams to that level, and they weren't matching the Bengals with the way that their defense has been playing up until, you said, of course, the 4th quarter, where they get those 2 turnovers, which turn into 2 scores. So the Bills, they really have to get plays like that in their favor in order to compete with these top-level offenses, and I don't know how that's going to contend for them and keep them going through and to the playoffs, but they're certainly looking like a team that's going to make the playoffs, even if they don't win their division with the Patriots.
All right, a couple more matchups from Week 14. The Rams cruise, 7.5-point favorites over Arizona. Again, we say it week in and week out. Arizona's quarterback play is much improved, but not enough to get the win. 45-17, Rams over Arizona. The last game of Sunday was Houston visiting Kansas City. Kansas City, in a must-win situation, gets the L against Houston's defense. Was too much for them. 20-10, very low-scoring game for the Kansas City Chiefs. Very uncharacteristic. Anybody have a word before we move on to the Monday night matchup?
Sure. We kind of prefaced that game talking about how it's the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Texans defense, and that's basically the extent of the game. The Texans offense did not do much in this game. I mean, the first drive or two offensively for the Texans, you got there. Nico Collins runs deep down the field, and Trent McDuffie gets hurt. Of course, the best corner for the Chiefs. And even after that, the Texans offense wasn't able to do better despite the injury there to their top corner. They had 10 points going into the fourth quarter, I want to say, or at least, late into the third quarter, 10-10 there. So just not another impressive offensive performance from the Texans. Their defense really holding them in this game once again against the Chiefs.
Yeah, to add on to what Josh just said, the first three possessions of the second half, they went 3 and out. The Texans did in the second half. And C.J. Stroud really bailed them out late in the game with an incredible third down, because they were getting ready to punt the ball right back to Mahomes. Incredible third down pass that really kept their season alive and kept their might have possibly ended the Chiefs season, to be honest with you. The Chiefs defense looked really good, and their offense, a lot of dropped balls, Travis Kelce. So yeah, everything Josh said, I completely agree with.
Caleb, final word?
Sure. Yeah, we said, I forget who picked the Texans. Oh, 2 of us did, I think.
You and Tim.
Oh, we've been on the same page. The Texans defense looked amazing. Kamari Lassiter, their 22-year-old corner, locked up basically whoever he was playing. He had a pick. Mahomes had 3 picks in this game. Not good. Rashee Rice, 34 yards. Travis Kelce, 8 yards. I mean, they got shut out completely. Mahomes was their leading rusher again. Their second leading rusher, Kareem Hunt, with 30 yards on 12 touches, so not good. That Texas defense is scary. Nothing was going for the Chiefs. Nothing on offense worked. So kudos to them.
All right. I agree. Chiefs are flat and right now looking on the wrong side of playoffs for the first time in a long time. All right, Monday Night Football, your favorite Eagles by 3.5 lose to the I say they're not your favorite. They're favored. Lose to the Chargers 22-19. You got to love Herbie. He's going in there, one hand up while he's throwing the football, and he did a good job keeping that hand out.
Respectable.
You saw some Eagles try to punch at it. Even when he went to the ground, he kept it off the ground and would just go to his shoulder. Poor guy. And I know Harbaugh, they said it on the broadcast, he's always been known as a tough guy who played through some really tough stuff. And he said, hey, well, let's see what this guy's made of, basically. That's got to be tough to have. You could see the blood in there, and he had just had a plate put in and a screw. Goodness gracious. We all picked the Chargers. I'm glad that Jalen Hurts was good enough to be bad enough to allow us all to get our pick right. Tim, I want to share something that I shared with the boys today, kind of a pop quiz for you. All right. I'm going to give you a number, and I want you to guess a number. If an NFL quarterback were to spike the ball on every single play that he was playing quarterback, his QBR would be 39.6. Okay? What do you think Jalen Hurts, quarterback, QBR was yesterday?
Well, he had two turnovers in one play and 4 picks total, I think, or four. You said 39 points. I'll say just barely above it. I'll say a 41.
Jalen Hurts versus the Chargers QBR was 31.3.
31.
He would have been better off spiking the ball on every single play. I've never seen that maybe in my life. Maybe I have.
That's crazy.
I've said for years, I'm going to let y'all take the floor. and goodness gracious, what a good day to be a Cowboys fan after that win there. Let me just say, the game all in all was not a good football game. Both teams tried very hard to give the game to the other team. That said, this is probably the matchup. I know that Rich Eisen keeps telling Eagles fans not to worry, and they do have a soft schedule going out, but I'd worry a little bit because I think we all have different reasons why we think this team is not playing well. Now, they're defending Super Bowl champions. They're winners. Last 3 games they haven't been. I don't know what to say. I've said for years on this podcast, I don't know who they are. Well, now I don't think they have a quarterback. And, I was telling the boys in the offseason, Tim, that, I really liked Jalen Hurts, that I thought he was a quality quarterback, and I loved him in college. I don't love him anymore. The guy looks like a clown out there. He's not throwing the football. And you have so many conflicting reports between the mainstream media about what's wrong with this team. Tim, what's wrong with this team?
In one word, the offense. offense.
Yeah.
But their defense looked phenomenal. Their defense looked like the Eagles' defense of old last night. They were, and again, we've said this every time we mention the Chargers on this podcast. We mention offensive line. Poor Justin Herbert. Their offensive line did not help him at all last night. It was like a middle school offensive line against the Eagles' defensive line. The defense was phenomenal going after Herbert. The offense just could not put anything together. It was the Eagles' offense, that is. And so, I mean, that's oversimplifying the problem, but that is the problem, is the offense. Dropped balls, routes run the wrong way, poor throws by Jalen Hurts. Just some throws he shouldn't be making, throws when he should be making them, he's not making them. When he's not making them, it's just, he is not the Jalen Hurts that we came to know the last few years.
Josh, we said last year that if you can make Jalen Hurts stand in the pocket and throw the football, you could beat him. And that seemed to be true a lot of the times. You've also said, I believe, Josh, that his touchdowns don't really matter, considering they're mostly tush pushes and within small bursts and things like. I mean, obviously touchdowns matter, but explain what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I mean, you look at their rushing stats, his rushing attempts, his rushing yards per average are down. A lot of the time they run these design runs. Of course, there's the tush push is the design run, but the design run where you spread out the offense, you send the guys down the field, and you let the edge rushers get to, essentially behind Jalen Hurts, and it's a design run where he's going to take off, split the gap, whatever's open there, and he's going to have, that next layer of the field open because all the guys are down the field. And so we've seen that time and time and time again, but just not recently. So his efficiency's down, the rushing attempts are down. We're not even seeing as many tush pushes as we've seen in previous games because they're not in situations to even do that. So you mentioned, the touchdown success. I don't know where he stands as far as that goes this year, but year to year, the last couple of years with Nick Sirianni, he's been among the league leader in rushing touchdowns, not only for quarterbacks but for running backs included. So you take that out of his game, as you mentioned, you make him a pocket passer, you make him rely, you make your offense rely more on him as a passer. That's where you run into problems. And so, as Tim mentioned, he's dropping back, he's going to take the pass down the field, and it's not consistent enough where you want him to be doing that every single play. And so we're seeing that this month stretch without Lane Johnson. It's just been extremely rough for that offense. You're seeing plays where A.J. Brown is running, from the left side of the field across his face, and Jalen Hurts is so locked in on the guys on the right side of the football field, he doesn't even see A.J. Brown standing there, and he'll take sacks on those plays as well. There was one in this Chargers game to mention it with that as well. So it's just problematic. He's been missing Devontae Smith on deep passes where when that clicks, you have those massive Devontae Smith games, and it's probably their best offensive games, but you just see him trying more and more as a passer, and you see each and every week how limited he is as a pure passer. So it is problematic. We want to see more runs because he desperately needs that for his game.
Tim, you had a point before Caleb drives us home here.
No, go ahead. No, everything Josh said is 1,000,000% right. Yeah. So now go ahead, take it home, Caleb, because I know you have a point about his OCs, right?
Oh, yeah. I'll talk about the game for a few seconds, then I'll jump into that point. Like Josh was saying and what Tim was saying, they just looked bad overall, the offense for the Eagles. It looked like Jalen Hurts was uncomfortable. Saquon Barkley had his best game, 20 carries, 122 yards. Jalen Hurts only had 8 rushing yards. Not normal for him, especially him being a run-first quarterback. Saquon Barkley also had no receiving yards, which is outside of the norm for them. So not good. But I do have a point. Jalen Hurts, his entire professional, semi-professional, whatever you want to call college now, but the last 8 years he's had 8 different OCs, which is not good. 2 in Alabama, and then 2 in Oklahoma. He had Lane Kiffin, Steve Sarkisian, Mike Locksley, and Lincoln Riley. Then got drafted into the league where Doug Peterson was calling the plays for him. And then eventually in the year was Jeff Stoutland. That's in 2020. Then 2021, 2022, Shane Steichen. Obviously, they made the playoffs both years, and they lost the first round. And then, obviously, in 2022, they went to the Super Bowl. They clinched home field advantage, had a bye week. So they're 2-2 in the playoffs that year. Then he gets Brian Johnson, where they played terrible. They had that 5-game losing streak. If you remember watching the show, we brought it up a lot. And then Kellen Moore, obviously, he's the best OC they've ever had statistically. 4-0 in the playoffs, won the Super Bowl, and now they have Kevin Patullo. How you say that?
I've only heard Patullo, so
Patullo? Oh, I thought 2 L's equal Y, but what do I know?
I don't know, but
So I think it's solely based on how good their offensive coordinator is, which therefore makes Jalen Hurts a scheme quarterback, I think. He's a run-first scheme quarterback, and when the scheme isn't tailored to him running first, he struggles. He's not a pocket passer. But we see better OCs, as in Shane Steichen, who's head coach, Kellen Moore, who's a head coach now. He succeeded. He was one of the best quarterbacks in the league statistically, one of the top 5 MVP candidates that year. He was a Super Bowl MVP when they won the Super Bowl. He looked way better as a player, and you saw it in college too, in Alabama under I think Lane Kiffin. He looked very good, got into the championship, got hurt, and then obviously Tua took over, and then he looked bad. They moved on from him. He went to Oklahoma, looked bad for a little bit, and then in his last year, Oklahoma with Lincoln Riley looked very good, got drafted obviously to the Eagles. So his career's literally been up and down every other year, and I think it's solely because of the coordinators. And I don't think that he's a terrible quarterback. I think he's a franchise quarterback that obviously you need coaches around him. He has never had consistency, so it hasn't really been fair. So I don't think it's all on Jalen Hurts. I think he is what he is. He's a franchise quarterback who's a run-first guy. He's a system guy. He needs a system around him. So Eagles fans, I wouldn't keep trashing Jalen Hurts. I think that you guys should call for a change in your front office to make as far as offensive play calling, offensive coordinators go. That's the main issue. And like Josh said, their offensive line being banged up is one of the biggest factors of him not being productive as well. So 2 factors, OC, O-line, very fixable. I don't think they should move on for Jalen Hurts like the Eagles fans want to happen, cut him, trade him, whatever. A little extreme, but that's normal for them. But yeah, I think that's the problem.
I would say we just need to acknowledge the limitations that some of these quarterbacks have. You look at players like Brock Purdy. Would he be that successful without the 49ers or without a system, that is highly tailored to how he plays the game? Probably not. Would Tua be as well? No, we've seen Tua lead the league in passing. We've seen the lows of Tua when a lot of the system and a lot of the pieces fall around or get hurt or gets changed around him, right? We're seeing that with Jalen Hurts right now. We've seen that with certain different offensive coordinators, as you mentioned. We've seen it with Jimmy Garoppolo, Mac Jones. You've seen them play in that 49er system and where it's tailored to how they play the game. A lot of dump offs to the running back, a lot of movement, a lot of getting the ball out in short spaces and letting the player, the receiver, do most of the work there. We've seen it time and time again, and when that system changes, we've seen their failures show. We've seen, their incomplete qualities as a quarterback show, and then we suddenly freak out when that happens. Like we know what Jalen Hurts is. We know he's essentially the same guy he was coming into the NFL. He's not going to get much better, but you put all these pieces around him, and you put them in the perfect situation, and it comes, and it's beautiful. And they're a top-level offense. Same with the 49ers. No one's going to say that Brock Purdy is a top 10, top 15, top 20 talent even. You could argue he's among the league's worst talents. But he's an intelligent player, and you should tailor to his strengths as a quarterback and not try to change and waver from that.
Let me push back on this whole discussion for a second. I heard Tim an interview with Sims Jr. there, and he was,
Chris Sims, yep.
He was, senior is my generation, and Chris is yours. He seems to think without a shadow of a doubt that Jalen Hurts is the problem, and he says, his own words, you can look it up if you want to find it. We don't usually play those things on here, but that basically he knows for a fact he's not running the offense, his decision making, blah blah. Okay, here's my pushback on everything that's been said about this, and then we'll move on. I'm not trying to debate you guys. One, I've been a big fan of Hurts. I've slowly watched a guy show up with that glazed look in his eyes every week. Then you see, and again, he's got one of the best wide receiver duos in the NFL. He has a very good offensive line that's not that injured, y'all. They're not.
It's just one guy.
He's got one of the best running backs in football, certainly last year. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, the guy can't play football. Let's call it what it is. He's missing guys. He's throwing behind him. He's throwing low. He, like you said, Josh, he'll get out of the pocket on a design run and just collapse to the ground. It's like something's wrong with him, okay? Jalen Hurts is not playing by far at the same level that he's played when they were on championship runs. He is not. He looks like he's afraid to throw the football and afraid to run. No offense. If I'm a quarterback in the NFL and I'm struggling, I'm giving it to Saquon every time. It just makes sense. You have horses to run behind. I don't understand. I don't know that Chris Sims is right, but I will say He is not the same guy, and his numbers are padded, like y'all have said, with all these short touchdowns and tush pushes, and they're almost automatic. But his productivity as a quarterback, watch him when the camera zooms in on his eyes pre-snap. He doesn't know what he's doing. He looks lost. I don't get it. I really just don't get it. He looks different.
I think to the credit of Caleb's point is you have to find, if you're going to commit to Jalen Hurts, you have to find the absolute right guy, right system,
You're right.
right design for Jalen Hurts, or you're going to see a flustered Jalen Hurts. You're going to see a guy who's a little confused or a guy who is a little overwhelmed with having to be, that level of quarterback or that type of thrower of the ball. So I think, that points more to Caleb's point or credit of his point than Jalen Hurts just suddenly being bad, because we had this discussion with him at Alabama, and that's why he got replaced, as he had these offensive changes. He had Lane Kiffin, he might have had, I don't know if he had Brian Dable as one of the assistants there, but he had a lot of different minds and a lot of different opinions in how they ran the offense. And so I think that like I said, points towards Caleb's point.
I'll say this like any other team, when it all starts and ends with your quarterback, when he's out of sync for whatever reason, your team is not good. And right now the Philadelphia Eagles are not good, and his performance last night was among the absolute worst that you could imagine as a starting quarterback. Okay, we need to do this before we get... Tim? Oh, yeah, go ahead,
just very quick, I was just going to say, it makes you appreciate... No, it's fine. It makes you appreciate Josh Allen even more, doesn't it? Josh Allen has no system. They have not built an offense around him. Yeah. He has no weapons.
He's Dan Marino.
And yet he's still going out there outside of a system that has not been developed for him. And everything Josh and Caleb just said is exactly right. They watch the film. What the offensive coordinator is doing isn't working. Build the system around Jalen Hurts. Come on.
But to my point,
over and over again.
They haven't changed the system dramatically at all since he's been there. He's the one in the driver's seat. He's the one making the call.
I understand.
He's the one doing audibles.
And he has the weapons.
He has everything he needs to be successful.
Quarterbacks don't have. Yep, right. You're right. Yep. Yeah. You're absolutely right.
So I think the system's there.
This is not me defending Jalen Hurts saying he's an outstanding talent.
Yeah, it is.
It's not. I'm just saying we know who Jalen Hurts is. That's a part of you becoming that offensive-minded player. And if Jalen Hurts is the problem, then you move on from Jalen Hurts. But I think it's more evident that this is a personnel, this is a coordinator, this is a scheme that they have to just completely change it to exactly what it was, or you're not going to get who Jalen Hurts is.
I don't think so. Mm-hmm. I think he has all the weapons he needs to be successful, and he knows what he needs to do. That's
not the weapons.
Yeah, I don't think you go from Super Bowl MVP to barely startable in 10 months.
10 months. 10 months,
Kurt Warner did in defense. I mean, there's been players that did.
But these are elite talents.
Jalen Hurts is elite. But anyway, we can move on.
Yeah. There's problems in Philadelphia. We can suffice say that. All right, AFC guys. Right now, Broncos, Patriots, Jaguars, and Steelers are in the driver's seat. They control their own destiny because they are the division current winners. Chargers are the 5 seed. Bills are the 6 seed. Texans are the 7 seed. Currently, Colts, Ravens, Chiefs, Dolphins, and believe it or not, the Bengals are all still alive mathematically, with just the Jets, Browns, Raiders, and Titans absolutely out. We look at the NFC, it's going to change week to week, so it's important that we keep you guys up to date. The Rams are the 1 seed, Packers are the 2nd seed, Eagles are the 3rd seed, Bucks are 4th. Now, this is wild because you have a 10-3 Seahawks, 9-4 49ers are the next ones. That means the Bears is the last one in. Currently, the 3 teams on the bubble that I think are most likely to get in could be Lions, Panthers, Cowboys. I don't think the Vikings are there, but they are not eliminated like the Falcons, Cardinals, Saints, Commanders, and Giants. Wah, wah. So that is your current look at what is going on.
All right. Worth mentioning the Panthers are more in play for their division than the wild card at this point.
Yeah, there needs to be some turning around. Great segue, because Thursday night football, we have the pleasure of watching Kirk Cousins go to Tampa Bay, where the 5.5-point favorite Buccaneers are scheduled to play Thursday night prime time. By the way, two records. Dallas and the Chiefs, we read, was the largest watched game, I believe, non-Super Bowl game. And then Thursday Night Football reported their largest total last week that they've ever had by far. So records are being broken in viewership, at least in the streaming generation. All right, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, anybody going with Atlanta here? Any lone wolves crying in the night?
I'll do it again.
You just do it. I think
No. I think they're a good team. I think Kirk Cousins is. Hey, come on, man. Bijan got bottled up last week. Devin Neal for the Saints almost had his way. He had a good game, but I would say had his way lightly with the Bucks last week. Looked great, and I think Bijan's not going to have 2 bad games in a row. They're going to lean on him. And the Bucks are beatable. They just lost to the Saints. I mean, they're kind of beat up. It is in prime time. They're still banged up on offense. I know Bucky's back. Mike Evans is practicing, which is hard to believe. Chris Godwin's still been in a slump. I know for fantasy he's doing okay, but not really doing anything. Ibuka is doing nothing the last few weeks. I think he had like 17 yards last week. So their offense is stale, and the Falcons' defense is young. I think they're hungry. They could ruin the Buccaneers season with this game, having them another loss in their division and another loss overall. They'll be behind the Panthers. So, I think Falcons are juiced up. I think I'm going to pick them. They're ready to go.
All right, moving on. 7-point favorites. Well, we've got to keep moving. We're a little behind.
Good. You're good.
Yeah, we'll give you that. Chicago Bears at home against Cleveland. Anybody in their mind picking Cleveland Browns to win this game?
No.
I will end this podcast if y'all go.
No, I thought you said you were.
No.
18 interceptions for the Chicago Bears this year. They're playing up against a rookie quarterback, of course. They know. Blitz Shador Sanders. You already have the guys that can make the interceptions. I think it's going to be a tough game for him. Even if he plays extremely well, they still didn't win against the Titans last week when he played well. I just don't think it's going to be a better game for him, and they know how to attack him. So,
I will say if Shador comes out and puts it on him, I haven't seen him put it on anybody in the NFL, but if he does, I will take back everything I said about the kid and admit I was wrong. But he won't. Chicago should crush him. All right, here's one that we're probably going to be split on. 2.5-point favorite. Yeah, Baltimore Ravens. Tim, why do I still like Baltimore Colts, Washington Redskins? I can't get it out of my brain.
I know.
You can't make excuses for Baltimore Colts. That one's a little.
Yeah,
I'm old, bro. I am old. I read it and I want to go.
Fast.
Yeah, I know. Baltimore Ravens and Cincinnati. Baltimore's 2.5-point favorites. Who do you got? Cincinnati's at home. I went Cincy.
You're the Joe Burrow guy, right? Who you picking?
Yeah, you love Joe Burrow.
Macaulay
Culkin. I'll go quick. I'm going to go Bengals. Look up Jamar Chase's average against the Ravens. The Ravens are not good. Their offense not going to match this. The Bengals just put up 34 points against the Bills. So, Bengals.
Caleb's with me. Who else is with me?
I'm with you. Bengals. Boom.
Josh?
I'm taking the Bengals.
All right. Wow. We got the trifecta again, or the whatever quadfecta. All right, here's another tough one. The Chargers are visiting Kansas City. Kansas City's 4.5-point favorites as of this moment. I went Kansas City. They can't afford it. They just can't afford it. That said,
can't afford it.
They can't afford it.
How many home games do they have?
Apparently 16.
This is the 8th one.
Yeah. I'm taking Kansas City as well because Kansas City's defensive line was just getting after Houston, and the Chargers' offensive line was just falling over the other night. So I see a very rough game for Justin Herbert. Not his fault, but I think afternoon game. Sorry, a rough afternoon for Justin Herbert. I go Chiefs, Kansas City.
Josh?
Yeah, I think seemingly the Chiefs-Chargers is always close regardless of the circumstances, but just Tim mentioned it. The offensive line is kind of a lot of the reason why I picked the Chiefs last week was just their ability to get to the quarterback, ability to get to C.J. Stroud, the inside linebackers, their ability to play the short game extremely well. I think it's going to be the same thing. Justin Herbert and the Chargers did not play well in that game against the Eagles. I think the Chargers, they have good matchups defensively against these wide receivers. Keenan Allen has not been doing much for the last 5, 6, 7 games. Quentin Johnson, he can have big plays, but the dependency and reliance there is just not there. So I think there's not a lot of things to depend on other than the consistency of the defense for the Chargers. And I just think, like you said, one of these games, the Chiefs are going to be able to go out there and play well against somebody. And it has to be, in a home game against a team that's prone to turnovers at this point in time with the injury to Justin Herbert. So I'll go with the Chiefs.
Caleb, are you howling? Are you all alone?
Yeah, I'm going Chargers. I think that the run game is evenly split. I think they're going to play keep away. I like the Chargers defense. I like that. I don't like this for the player, but Trent McDuffie's banged up, and then Quentin Johnson's been quiet lately. They're going to have some deep shots to him.
Yeah.
Is it Vidal or Vidal? Vidal or Vidal?
I think it's
for the Chargers. Tell Joe Buck that
I don't care.
It's Vidal. Kamara.
Yeah, either one. Whatever one works.
Week 1 was a 1-score difference. I think a 6-point win for the Chargers. There was no Rashee Rice in that game.
Yeah.
They were starting rookies on the offensive line. So I think this is a little bit more heading towards that defense against the Chargers versus Week 1.
A little more high stakes. Okay, a couple games we're going to probably split on. New England's at home against Buffalo, favored by 0.5. 0.5. Not even a point. New England is favored. Who are you taking? I went New England at home. Because when I don't know, I go with the home team. I'm that shallow.
I'll take the Bills. I think they'll split. I don't think the Patriots are going to, end off the season. I think it's going to be a little more tense, a little closer to end off the year in that division.
You're probably right. I should have thought this through.
Yeah, I'm going Bills as well for the Josh Allen factor, and I think James Cook maybe cleans up his game a little bit, holds on to the ball. Patriots haven't played anybody. They're a good team.
Haven't played anybody.
Their schedule's weak. They have not played anybody. Yeah. Bills are the best team they have left, and so I'm going Bills.
Caleb, help me out, man.
I'm doing it again. I'm going Patriots.
Love
it. You're with me.
I think we saw Sean Tucker against them on the Buccaneers is the best team against the Patriots this year with just 53 yards. I think it was the only rusher to have 50 rushing yards against the Patriots. I think James Cook, like we're saying, is mistake prone. I don't think he's a premier back. I think he's a good running back. But I think the Patriots defense is too good against the run. They know what to do with Josh Allen. The last game they played in prime time was one possession. Now they're at home in their territory, coming off the bye week. Patriots all day.
Yeah, okay, I'll say to the credit of the Bills, that game was close, and the Bills had a ton of mistakes in that game. So
yeah, right.
To assume that those mistakes would carry over, I don't know. We don't know what the Patriots look like coming off of a bye, but I'll go with the Bills.
Okay, we're split. All right, guys, this is my I don't care, nobody cares game of the week. Washington's visiting the Giants, 2.5-point favorites.
Oh.
You have a heart for Dart?
Giants.
Yeah, Giants defense. That's it.
Yeah, Giants defense, exactly. Yep.
So this will push our propaganda of saying that the Commanders could finish 4th in the division when the Giants beat them late in the season.
It'll be 3-11.
I said that they would finish 3rd. Right now, if the NFC East finished, I have it right.
Well, good thing it doesn't end right now.
Well, but I'm feeling like it's going to end exactly like it is. Of course, I'd love for Dallas to change my mind. Okay, 2 games I'm not gonna waste my time on. Philadelphia's favored at home by 12.5 against Las Vegas. Jacksonville's favored by 11.5 against the Jets. Anybody taking these underdogs?
No.
Vegas?
At this point, the Raiders couldn't do it. I'm just kidding.
They might.
I'm not.
I'm a week 18 pick.
Max Crosby, Jeremy Chin.
I have my Raiders mug coming in the mail, by the way.
There you go. Maybe you'll be drinking out of it next week.
I mean, if they do, I'm buying that mug immediately. Okay, 2 more games that are going to be really tough. Well, let's just go with 1.
Wait, you think the Eagles are down that bad?
No, I was making a joke.
Bro, if the Eagles lose... No, but I will buy a Raiders jersey if they beat the Eagles next week. I will spend some
Max
coin.
Crosby's showing up at your doorstep.
You ain't lying,
I just
brother.
take my coffee on myself for that one.
Yeah. All right, here's another one that I think we're all going to agree on. Houston's at home against Arizona, favored by 9.5. Anybody taking
Cardinals.
Arizona?
Yeah, Cardinals. Yeah. Michael Wilson. No. I think that the Cardinals, they've been in every game. I mean, they're sneaky. Their quarterback's been playing great. I think they're pestery enough to if the Texans offense struggles that it could be interesting. So I'm gonna go Cardinals. I'm just going by myself all week. Every pick.
I like the Texans defense. We can talk about it to nausea. It's just their offense hasn't been intimidating enough. They're still trying to figure out the wide receiver rotation. Sometimes Christian Kirk's out there in the red zone. Other times he's not. It's just a slew of the Iowa State guys. They're still trying to figure out. The confidence I have in their offense is non-existent unless they're playing just an absolute poor secondary. Will Johnson, I think he had a terrible time last week playing against Puka and Devontae Adams, more so Puka. But I think this is an easier game for him, quite frankly, and I think he favors up well against the other Michigan alumni, comparably to 2 top receivers in the league so far this year. So I think it's a better matchup for them defensively than last game, and I think the Texans' offense, I just said, just not imposing threat right now.
I agree, but I am going Houston because Houston has something to play for, right? Houston still has a shot at the division, right? I think they're only a game back in the division,
Yeah, 100%.
where Arizona's out of it. Arizona's done. You're right. Arizona has been in every game up until 3 days ago, where they got destroyed 45-17 by a really good team, possibly the best team in football, right? In the Rams. But I don't know. I think that defense, that Houston defense, as Josh said, we talk about it all the time, is just too good for Arizona. It's not that I'm confident in Houston's offense, because I'm not. It's just I'm more confident that Houston's defense will stop Arizona's offense, and I think Houston's offense will do just enough. I could see this being like a 17-7 game, or like an 18, or that's not a thing. I don't know, like a 20-10 game or something like that. Maybe. Yeah.
Six field goals,
like the Texans just had.
6 field goals.
Just for clarity, Josh, you went Arizona also?
I did. I think their offense could surprise this team. I think that's going to be a game where the Texans not they're going to be caught sleeping, or I just think that they're walking into this game saying, "Oh, they just lost by 30 points to the Rams or whatever."
I
it was,
heard your
25
reasoning.
points.
I just didn't hear the end result, I guess. Okay,
I don't
Tim.
think they're an offense that can match right now, to be honest.
Okay. Hey, that's why we get to pick our own games. Green Bay's favored on the road against Denver. Tim, I love your Packers, bro. I think Denver's too hard to beat at home. I'm going with the Green Bay Packers still. I don't think that Denver can. Denver is playing every game close to the hip. Every game they win, they barely win. I've said this since, I don't know. That's off the top of my head. I could be dead wrong, but it seems like they scrape by, even with Vegas, 24-17. Well, I got news. Green Bay is not Vegas. So Green Bay is going to score a little more than that. And if all they're going to do is 24, they're going to lose to Green Bay, who's 2.5-point favorites. Who you got, Tim?
It sounds like I'm such a homer, but I am going Green Bay. Packers have 2 tough games coming up, back-to-back games. They're 2 road games in a row. They're in Denver and then in Chicago. As a Packers fan, I'm hoping for a split out of these 2. Obviously, I'd love to win both, but I think, for the same reasons I mentioned before about the encouragement for a Packers fan and the fact that Christian Watson has emerged as a true number 1, and they have all these other weapons in Josh Jacobs, Dontavian Wicks, Jaden Reed is back, Romeo Doubs. I know Denver's got a great defense, but that's a lot of receivers to shut down. And the way Jordan Love is playing right now, I don't know that they can stop the Packers.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Packers as well. I think you can't rely on the run game for the Broncos right now. They do have some short-winded drives with Bo Nix running around and hucking up the ball. We talked about last week. I just think Packers defense, they're going to play extremely well against Bo Nix and this lack thereof of a run game. They have the same amount of interceptions this year. The Broncos do have 55 sacks compared to 33 for the Packers right now, which it sounds like a lot. Yes, that's number 1 versus number 10. But yeah, I just think that the Packers are picking up steam. The Broncos have won 10 in a row. That's fantastic. But it's been extremely close in a lot of those games. Even their previous Raiders game was only a 3-point game. I just think that the Packers have the momentum, and I think their defense favors well against the young players for the Broncos right now.
All right. I'm going to do it again. I'm going Broncos. Tim, this is a question for you. Is Zach Tom's ankle injury, is it maintenance or is it severe?
No, it's severe. He's done.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. I think that's going to be the biggest factor in this game, because I don't know if Darian Kennard, he's from Philly, and has he ever been a starter? Or is he just a backup?
Backup, yeah.
Oh, man. So, yeah, I think that's going to be the factor here. The Broncos, up until the Texans got hot, were the best team in football with sacking the quarterback. Jordan Love, shoulder injury. I know he's fine, but that plays a factor, I think. I think the Broncos are just the better team overall. So I'm gonna go Broncos.
Okay.
And there's also a Brandon McManus revenge game, so that'd be fun.
Oh boy, here we go with this. All right.
And he's been pretty bad for the Packers the last few weeks, I think. Didn't he have a lot of misses weeks ago? But yeah.
Is he going to be playing in this one?
I don't know. Well, maybe they'll wheel him out for the home field advantage.
All right.
That's right.
I feel like Let's keep the ball moving down the field. The Rams are at home.
That's a deep dive.
Rams are at home. 4.5-point favorites over the Detroit Lions. Anybody taking the underdog Lions?
No.
Nah.
That secondary's toast.
Not this crowd, huh?
Matthew Stafford, I'm sure he's feeling some sort
Revenge
of way.
game. Oh, baby.
For
Matty
both of them.
Stats.
I understand it's for both of them. So whatever kind of favor that means for them, they both have it, right? But I think it means a little more for Stafford going back there with his, with the way that their team's playing. I think they're just going to match up well. As Caleb started out by mentioning, the secondary is just completely destroyed for the Lions.
Yeah. All right. Let's keep moving. The Carolina Panthers are visiting New Orleans. Oddly enough, Carolina's only 2.5-point favorites. Anyone taking the dog? New Orleans at home. Not even Caleb. Okay.
No. I think the Panthers are good.
All right, here's two that I think we're not going to argue are going to be wins because of the double digits. San Francisco at home, 12.5-point favorites over the Titans. Seattle at home, 10.5-point favorites over the Colts. Anyone taking the dogs in these games?
No, that's too much.
Colts. No. There's no way to know what the Colts are doing, and I don't see Phillip Rivers, who we already said we all adore. We think he's fabulous. I'm not sure Grandpa needs to play, but I hope he's good when he comes back because I don't see another option. Caleb, you made mention that AR is actually coming off IR potentially after this game. Is that the rumor?
In the next week or two, I think they're saying he's starting to practice. He had a collision in practice where I don't know if it was a shoulder or a helmet or whatever. Fractures his orbital bone, so he's been out. He can't have contact with that issue. So he's healthier now. He should be cleared soon.
Okay. All right, this brings us up to the Sunday night football game. Dallas Cowboys at home, 6.5-point favorites over the Minnesota Vikings. Anybody taking Minnesota? Not this crew?
I am.
What?
Oh, yeah.
I don't like this one. The Vikings are their defense is great. Dak got sacked, I think, 4 times against the Lions. Our O-line's banged up. Yeah, I think that's going to be a big factor there. That defense, CeeDee Lamb might be out. He's in concussion protocol. They said he's fine, trending up. But it doesn't feel right. I think the Vikings have the edge here.
Can I be really selfish for a second, Josh Hamby? I am playing against you in our in our little fantasy joint there, and I have you have CeeDee Lamb, and I have George Pickens. I'm sorry. I hope the CD's not out because
you forgot to mention you have Dak.
I do have Dak
and Javonte.
You're loving life regardless. I just have to hope that CD does something.
People can call me a homer, but with Dak and George in both leagues, that I'm in the champion. I'm in the playoffs. So homer or not, you take the best available. And CD and Dak have not hurt me all year. I'm sorry. I don't wish you. I wish you well. I do.
All right.
Is that it, Tim? You're taking Dallas?
I'm taking Dallas. Yeah. I like Dallas. I like Dallas a lot this year. I really do. I think you have a good team. Just bad defensive performances a few weeks.
If only that record showed it.
Yeah.
Do we really think that this defense is going to make J.J. McCarthy something that he's not? Like, do we think that because it's an easier game in the secondary that he's going to suddenly be able to get the ball to Jefferson?
No. I think our defensive line will still cause him problems because he's a kid.
I just think that the Vikings are good enough to play keep away. I think that they're going to be their game. I think it's going to work.
I'm with Caleb.
I think Dallas will score too fast, and I'm just worried about our O-line. Our exterior O-line is banged up, and those edge rushers are scary.
Well, this is too, Tim, you know this. This is where you get to figure out what you're made of. Dak used some, not coarse language, but basically said they were upset at the way they played, and they don't anticipate doing it. Even Williams is starting to step up, being new to the Cowboys on defense, and admit that this is not who we are. So I think there is a culture change. I think Schottenheimer's doing a good job. But let me say this: they were on a good streak, and you knew they had to hit the cliff sooner or later because they were winning when they probably shouldn't have been winning. But if that's who they are now, they'll take that loss and turn it back into a positive for sure. And that's what teams do. All right, final game then. This is the last one. I don't think we're going to disagree, unfortunately. You got primetime Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers up against Tua Tagovailoa, 3.5-point favorites at home. Anybody taking Miami?
Miami won 4 in a row. Have they won 4 in a row?
I think so.
Yeah. I You're gonna hate me. I'm picking the Dolphins.
I don't hate you, bro. You could pick as silly as you want to.
I think there's a little factors. Metcalf finally broke out last week. They put him on the exterior on the sidelines, and he was getting big plays, had over 150 yards. Looked great. He has stomach issues in the hospital that whole evening. I don't know what they ruled it to be. He had a contusion or something. Something happened with his stomach. Something severe enough to stay in Baltimore. But the Dolphins have been hot, surprisingly. I know Achane might be out this game, so that's a big factor on offense. But the Dolphins' defense with Minka Fitzpatrick and Rasul Douglas, old vets, they look really good. Rasul Douglas has been phenomenal. Just overall, Dolphins' defense looks great. They're healthy. They look like they figured it out. As we said, they won 4 games in a row. And they're dangerous, I think. Dangerous enough. And the Steelers, we've seen them slip up before. They're not consistent. I know they just had a great game. But, yeah, Dolphins, it's sneakier. I know it's in Pittsburgh, but and it's also going to be 21 degrees, which Tua's only had 1 win in under 40-degree weather in his career.
Last week. I think it was just last week, right, against the Jets.
Yeah. So there's a factor there, but I think the Dolphins can pull it out.
At 6-7, that means that the Dolphins were 2-7 before they went on a 4-game winning streak.
Yeah.
2-7. And I don't think it's enough to save anything. That's why this week's win was kind of insignificant because, what's the best they can hope to be 500?
McDonald playing for his, or not McDonald. Yeah, Mike McDonald playing for his life. Yeah, McDaniel. Right. Yeah. There's too many mixed McDonald's.
Too many Mikes. Mike McDaniel, Mike
and
McDonald.
Yeah. It's worth mentioning Devon Achane got hurt in this previous game. They are 8th in rushing yards in the NFL with 127 per game. The Steelers have 89 per game. I know Gainwell's been a factor as a receiver, but those 89 yards put him as 29th in the NFL. They're also 32nd in time possession. So if Achane's playing the way they've been able to run the football, the way they've been able to dump off to their tight ends with Darren Waller back, with Greg Dulcich playing well, they might be able to keep the ball away from the Steelers long enough to sustain a win. Because certainly we're not scared of what the Steelers could be on offense to go and overtake the game outside of 2 or 3 games this year. So the Dolphins could certainly play keep away and control that clock and take away a win, of course, without Metcalf as well if he's not playing.
And honestly, guys, the way that these football gods, they're not real. We make that word up. It's just a joke. The way it works out is I could see Cincinnati beating Baltimore only for Pittsburgh to lose to Miami and not change anything, going into next week, because that's just how silly the NFL can be. I'm real curious, who's your guess at who's going to be the starting quarterback for the Colts this Sunday?
Philip Rivers.
Gosh.
I think Philip Rivers,
That's
too.
a great question.
How fast can you go from practice squad to in your jersey on Sunday?
I think it has to be done before Saturday or on Saturday.
Done. So the old this sounds silly, but I can't wait to see him in a uniform again. A 44-year-old man in a uniform. That's so funny to me. Because Aaron looks noticeably different now that he's older.
Yeah.
He looks different.
I think that this is their complete backup plan because obviously his Hall of Fame enshrinement would be this upcoming year.
Yeah.
Or at least this upcoming summer.
Yeah.
So I think he forfeits that and he's pushed back 5 more years or not. I don't think practice squad does. And being on the practice squad, you could be on the practice squad and be the emergency third quarterback. So they still have Brett Rippon, who has played games and started NFL games. He's on their practice squad and was, of course, going to be activated, in the event of Riley Leonard being in or out. But I think he's just an absolute safety blanket. So that if they happen to miss more quarterbacks, he will, show up and play.
They could also poach.
They
They could poach from other practice squads players that have been cut. So I don't know the exact rules on that. There's some good names out there on practice squads.
Waiver rules apply.
Yeah, waiver rules apply.
Yeah.
So they could pick up. Yeah, there's a lot of practice squad quarterbacks that are good.
Yeah. I think this is just so they don't have nobody playing quarterback. I don't think he's going to start.
I don't know. I got a gut feeling the old man's going to be out there. Why not? They can't afford to lose any games. They're in a tight 3-way race, Not that he's their – I think he's probably their best shot. I think. I don't know.
There's plenty of options, and they're all not great. So any of them will be the same result, I think.
You mean a loss to
I'd
Seattle?
be curious if they called Brady. I'd be curious if they even. I'm not even joking. Like, I wonder if they called Tom Brady and just said, "Hey,
Well, my question is,
welcome back."
you called Phillip Rivers. Did you try calling Andrew Luck? I mean, you got
Right, yeah.
a little bit
I think he
younger.
weighs like 150 pounds and doesn't want to play football.
This
Yeah.
is like having Jeff Saturday, who was not even in your organization at that point in time, to be your head coach. It's just like, what are you doing?
Like, what
Your
is
sobriety
happening?
is in question if you're making moves like that, which we all know.
Yes,
But rest in peace, Ursay.
I'm gonna tell you right now.
Hopefully they don't do something like that.
100% chance Phillip Rivers is in their practice squad right now, screaming for the ball. Like, I know he wants to play. I mean, that's just who this guy is, which is fun. He's been a fun quarterback, has he not? He's been an awesome quarterback to watch.
I mean, he's borderline Hall of Famer statistically. He's been
a
good.
Hall of Famer. He's a Hall of Famer in my mind. All right,
You could
guys,
argue he's not because he didn't do anything.
I mean,
Win anything. I mean,
there's some of those guys in the Hall of Fame. They didn't do anything.
He won our hearts.
Yeah. we were looking.
Good answer, Josh.
We were looking at our good friend Matty Stats. For those of you that don't know, that's Matthew Stafford, and how
you call him that.
Yep,
We're good
how
friends,
much,
by the way.
Yeah. We don't know each other at all, and so we're looking at stats for Matty Stats and how he made virtual nobodies 1,000-yard receivers, and how with the Detroit Lions. So not that Megatron's nobody, he's obviously somebody. But, like, would he have been somebody in Detroit without Matty Stats? Because he made Golden Tate look good. You know what I'm saying? So in that number, something came up, Tim, that really kind of still bothers me. Mark Rippon, there's only a handful of quarterbacks that have had multiple 1,000-yard receivers on one team. And you guys should look it up. It's a lot of fun. But one of them was Mark Rippon, and those two, should be in the Hall of Fame receivers. I'll just say it, Art Monk and Gary Clark. Those guys were good year after year after year, and they have never gotten the credit that they're due. I sincerely hope that these guys, it's way past due, but they were phenomenal wide receivers for a long time. Let's be honest, the quarterbacks weren't good. Theismann and Rippon,
right?
And Williams, none of them were good. Theismann was supposed to be good, but do the math. It's an anomaly. We've been
You're hating on every good quarterback they've ever had.
Well, they've all won Super Bowls, but none of them sustained a career. They all had good seasons, and I'm going to say it. It's Joe Gibbs. It's a killer offensive line, great defense, and more importantly, they all had Art Monk and Gary Clark. They're the commonality, They should be in the Hall of Fame. Both those guys should go in. They should go in together. The NFL needs to do something about that. But needless to say, if you haven't looked up how many quarterbacks have had multiple 1,000-yard receivers on a team, and it's a fun little short list that'll get you excited. So, all right. Well, week 15, this is going to be another doozy, guys, because what I love most about the season so far is absolutely nothing is etched in stone. Only a couple teams have their division locked up, and everybody else is up for grabs, which makes for an exciting football season. Also, good luck to everybody. Most fantasy leagues by now are in fantasy playoffs, correct?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
What was your percentage, Caleb? Are all of us in one of our playoffs? Four of us?
We're all four in. There's 6 of us total in there. So 66.66667.
Who else made the playoffs? Stan and
Sean and
Sean Stan.
And then the 4 of us.
Yeah.
An update on Stan. He will be joining us. He will be joining
some point.
us. Yeah, at some point.
Love it.
What were you going to say, Josh?
Tim hit me with a nice last game going into the playoffs. It meant nothing for the playoffs, but Tony Pollard, Travis Etienne, JSN. I stopped looking after those guys because it was the 1 o'clock slate. But so Tim gets the bye week after that one. So we'll see if I get to play him again and get shellacked again. But
that's how I felt.
They all happen to perform on the same week. They all happen to have a really good week. So I'll take it,
This has been the weirdest fantasy year, this league. How long have we done this league? Like 10, 15 years? Forever? It feels like 100 years.
Oh, wow.
It's been the most competitive, the best. We call it the money league because it's always money. It's always in a fantastic league. A lot of the same guys. If you guys are listening, you guys are awesome to play with. So it's crazy that we were all like 500 and making the playoffs.
Yep. Yeah.
Other than Tim.
Super. Yeah, but I was I wasn't much better than 500. Yeah. I mean, we were all right there. So, yeah.
So I think, guys, over holidays and into playoffs, we're going to have a couple of guests. since we are the Fab Four here lately. We're going to likely have a couple of guests. I won't spoil it, but Stan is going to be on over the holidays. We'll have a couple more. Just good to hear other people's feedback.
Matthew Stafford.
I was just going to make that joke.
Matty
Matty Stats.
Our
Come
friend
on,
Matty
y'all.
Stats.
Y'all
I was
have
just gonna
nicknames
make
for
that
players
joke.
that I'm pretty sure no one else has either. So I mean, you
on,
guys
that
pick
was
on me
funny,
like I'm the
Josh.
only person that comes up with nicknames, but I mean, that is a lie.
good.
Okay. Well, anyway, let's wrap up, guys. Great listening to all of your feedback. This is our officially our Week 15 preview. As always, like and subscribe. We're available on YouTube, Instagram. We would love for you to tell your friends about the podcast if you enjoy it. Maybe give us a rating. And we will be back next week as always. We'll catch you next time on Guys Without Helmets.